Howdy and welcome to the Mighty Mojo channel. I'm Chuck. In this video, I want to do a counter argument to the video that I did, in which I there again played on the idea that this may be Hades or Purgatory, and that's in part based on the idea that we originally were on Sagittarius Earth, and then we were on Orion Earth, and the idea being that we were on one Earth and now we're on a different Earth. Okay, the counter argument is maybe not. Okay, one thing to point out is, okay, according to my overall theory, which I pretty much stick with, is that the world is computer-like. You have the base code that's written by the intellectual energy that first came out of the void, and then you have the code that we create by the lives that we live, the choices that we make, and so on. You pull out a chair, that's part of computer code. You've done that, that's there, that's part of computer code. You move the chair back, that's part of computer code. In other words, there's part of the code that we write by the lives we live. But then you also have the base code. And the base code is what creates the continents, the positioning with the sun, the positioning of where Earth is in the universe. That's the base code of the computer program. Now, when we go back in time and live the same life more than once, we can change time. And I think that happens. Okay, the intellectual energy that writes the base code can also change that code. We can't change that code. They can change that code. Now, one of the early theories on the Mandela effect has to do with CERN, and that somehow CERN is changing things. Well, in my theory, you don't really need CERN to change things. Just whoever can access that base code can change things. Maybe it can be done through CERN. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's done by higher ups. For example, ask the question: did the Americas exist before the Americas were discovered? Or did somebody, at some point shortly before the Americas were discovered, did somebody change that base code to create the Americas? You know, part of the Mandela effect is where continents have moved from their original position that some people think they remember. That's part of the Mandela effect. Okay, say that you go back and far enough back in time, the Americas was created by changing that base code. And there's a flaw in that code, I think. And that flaw is fairly simple. It's based on the idea of where do horses come from? Fossil evidence points that horses originated in the Americas. The thing is the horses didn't exist in the Americas until the Europeans brought them over. Europeans brought them over, and then they thrived, they populated, they did good. They became a large population fairly quickly. But fossil evidence points that horses actually originated in the Americas. Historical evidence is that horses didn't exist in the Americas and the Europeans brought them over. Okay, now there's an article over on NASA. Let me pull it up right quick where I can read it. I've got it on the view there. Okay, over on nasa.gov, there's an article. 2 of the Milky Way spiral arms go missing. For decades, astronomers have been blind to what our galaxy, the Milky Way, really looks like. After all, we sit in the midst of it and can't step outside for a bird's eye view. Now, new images from NASA's Spitzer Space Telescope are shedding light on the true structure of the Milky Way, revealing that it has just 2 major arms of stars instead of the 4 it was previously thought to possess. Okay. Is that something discovered, or is that something that's been changed? Discovered or changed? Discovered or changed? Now, I kept wanting to think, well, if we were on Sagittarius Earth and now we're on Ryan Earth, well, maybe we were actually moved from one Earth to another Earth. But perhaps, as some of the people early on when they were talking about the Mandela effect and were talking about CERN, basically they're just saying that CERN has been used to change things. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I'm not going to argue that either way. But if you look at the world as computer code and you look at it in a way to say that God created Earth and this entire system computer-like, God and the God complex has the ability to change things, has the ability to change the base code. And maybe other forces also have a way to change that base code. Maybe the Lucifer or demons or whatever, maybe they have gained access to be able to alter that base code. So that's an alternative theory to thinking that just because Sagittarius Earth versus Orion Earth means we're moved from one Earth to another Earth, maybe simply the computer code, the base code, has been changed. Same Earth, just the code has been changed. The base code has been changed. Maybe back in time there was no Americas. Now there are Americas, thank God. It's just a theory. Think what you want. Now back to the horses in the Americas, or not in the Americas. The logical explanation is the horses originated in the Americas, they became extinct. They supposedly, that Bering Strait, supposedly the theory is when they originated in the Americas, they crossed that Bering Strait through Asia up into Europe, but then they became extinct in the Americas. That's a logical explanation for the phenomenon that the horses were here and then they weren't here, and then the Europeans brought them back here. Bering Strait, it got a lot of activity. Didn't consider it as an ice bridge. Yeah, a lot of activity. I don't think so. Anyways, so there is a logical explanation for the horse phenomenon anyway. But another explanation for it is that there's a screw up in the computer code. I like that explanation better. Yeah, the computer's just screwed up in that area. Okay. There's a philosopher that he was born 1872, died in 1970. His name was Bertrand Russell. He was a philosopher, and he was awarded a Nobel Prize in Literature in 1950. He's the one. Let me pull it up right quick. It's going to take me a second to pull it up where I can see it. Let's see. Okay, he's the one that came up with the idea that there is no logical impossibility in the hypothesis that the world sprang into being 5 minutes ago exactly as it then was, with a population that remembered a wholly unreal past. There is no logically necessary connection between events at different times, therefore nothing that is happening now or will happen in the future can disprove the hypothesis that the world began 5 minutes ago. So, why would he come up with this point, want to make this point? I'm not really sure because I don't want to have to read the whole book. But it kind of goes with the idea that this world's computer-like and the computer can be changed, memories can be altered, reality can be altered. Or we could actually, there could be people walking around us that didn't exist and just suddenly they were created 5 minutes ago. Suddenly they're there. Suddenly they're there. Now, those of us, you live your life. It's not just memories. is the experience, the pain, the suffering, the anguish. Um, you don't. It is. You don't really. You can't really accept the notion that all that began just 5 minutes ago and was put in your brain because you went through it. It's not just a memory. It's a life experience. It goes beyond a memory. Um, but but the point is the memories could be fabricated. We wouldn't know the difference. We really wouldn't. But we believe those memories because we lived those memories. Even if it's suddenly just planted in the computer program, we're sitting here at this whatever age we are right now, and we think back to our experiences in the past. Um, Even if it's implanted in our brain, it's still real. It becomes a real part of reality. And see, I kind of want to fight against the idea that the world is just a virtual world, it's not a real world. Even if it's computer-like, I still think it's real. Everything we do has consequences. There's a point to it all. There has to be a point to it all. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that you go back to somebody that died in 1970, which to me is not that long ago, really, because I was born in 1957. Um, so um, so I kind of know the world that he was in, and for him to come up with that theory, it kind of points to the world's computer-like, and yet in those years you really didn't even think about computers that much. But yeah, the theory is based similar on the idea that the world is computer-like. Anyway, much thanks for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Yes, I do. I do. I really do. More than you'll ever know.